Well, thank you to Sharon and her son Max for joining us today with WXOX. And you guys are going to talk about teen mentoring. You have kind of a summer camp style teen mentoring that you tried out this year, and you're going to share about it. So I'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for having us. It's great to be here. I'm Sharon Scott with WXOX. And
Max Selby, yeah.
Max, say your name again. I think I was talking over you.
I'm Max Selby.
And Max is the team director of the Next Wave Academy, and he's been doing a great job with that. Yeah, Max, you did a good job just explaining how we kind of came up with this idea a second ago before the recording. Maybe you could just.
Well, we're in Louisville, Kentucky, and there's a lot of great nonprofit here who have summer camps. And we thought, hey, it'd be a good idea if why don't we get some teens on the radio and do that as a summer camp. So we decided to make it happen. This is the first year we've done it. It was a pretty big success. So I think.
Yeah, we had a lot. I think it was too. We had a lot of fun with it. You know, from my perspective, the teenagers had a lot of fun. Max, do you think they had fun?
Yeah, definitely. And we'll talk about, how we could have made it more fun. Yeah.
Right.
So what's it look like? Is it a week or 2 weeks, or what's the program set up?
It was 1 week, and it was 3 hours each day, Monday through Friday. And
yeah,
we go through the schedule on what we did. Okay, so what do we on the first day we did, sort of general, like not exactly radio related stuff. We got to know each other, got to know all the campers. And then what else did we do that day? Was that the rule?
Well, that was really good because you made up that. Well, I don't know if you made it up or if you figured it out from the internet, but you brought a really cool game for the students to play to get to know each other. And we had 12, just to give you a little background. So it was 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. each day, a Monday through Friday. And we had 12, we ended up having 12 campers, students, whatever you want to call them. We called it the Academy because a lot of these high schoolers are looking for stuff for their resume right now. And it looks a lot, going to college and whatnot, it looks a lot better to say the, Radio Academy than the radio camp. So we kind of, which it really was, because it really was, they're really learning skills, it's much more than just having fun. They were really learning a lot of skills. And we started off charging for it. We were offering it for, let's see, $140 for non-members and $125 for members of our nonprofit station. And then we also had scholarship opportunities where anyone who reached out to us, we were going to help them, if they needed financial assistance, help them pay for it. But luckily we got a grant from the city of Louisville. It was kind of this crazy email the city sent out about a week before our camp saying they had money to give nonprofits who are doing summer programs with youth in the community. And they were calling for grants, and it was like 24 hours until the grant deadline. And that was the first we had heard of it. And we were like, well, what the heck, let's try. And we really quickly pulled together a grant proposal and a budget for that. And we ended up getting the grant, which was very exciting, but we just found out about the grant basically a week before the camp started. And the purpose of the grant was to allow students to come for free. So then we had just 1 week and we had to, find campers to come to our camp for free. Luckily we had a community event just before that. It was our first kind of tabling event back out in the community, outdoor event at the library. And we were able to get some students signed up and come on in. And then we were able to give all the students who had already signed up, give them a reimbursement. So everybody got to come for free, which was great. And the grant also paid for them, Max, the cool bonus.
They all got a nice pair of free headphones. Were they Audio Technica?
Yeah, the same kind we use in studio. Because we knew they were going to all need their own pair of headphones because of the pandemic. We're trying to keep personal items, separate, so we knew they were going to need headphones, and we just kind of, since we were just going for it on the grant, it was like, what the heck, let's write it in and see if we can get free headphones for everybody. And we did. So that was exciting. and yeah, and like Max said, the first day, we kind of like, we wanted to do this. We knew the teenagers were interested in radio. We knew we had some studio space. We're in a rare moment right now where many of our DJs are still remote broadcasting at home. They're remote broadcasting live from home, which means they're still on the air live, but they weren't in the studio at those times when our campers were in the studio. So which was nice with the COVID, we didn't have to worry about exposing them to anyone else. And they could just kind of have the run of the radio station, which just ended up being really fun. So I don't know if in future years we'll be able to do it quite like that, but I do have some pictures we'll be able to show you. But that was great. But pretty much Max and I made it up the whole time. Like at the end of one day, we were like, okay, well, that was fun. What are we going to do tomorrow? And so we really seriously, we're winging it the whole time. But I don't.
And how many total people were a part of it?
We had 12 campers, and then Max and myself, and then
we had some DJs. Grant also paid for us to bring in were all the guest DJs? We brought in some DJs as guests, and they had experiments and just talked about the radio show. And one guy, he's a really cool DJ. He does a sort of community-based radio show where he records members of the community and has a question each week. And the point of his show is to answer that question. So he asks people about that question. It's one of our highest effort shows, in my opinion. So we had him, and he actually did an experiment with all the campers. So that was a fun time spender.
What kind of experiment?
He was a teacher before he does his current job. So he took some experiment from that he learned in teaching. It was he brought a bunch of books, and he has all tear out a page of that book, and then do a blackout poem, I guess, and make poems from that page. And then he incorporated that somehow into his question, which was, is magic real? I think was the question. It was something very similar to that. And then
that's interesting.
Yeah, we had a total of 7 guests maybe
throughout the week. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
something like that.
Max, what did you do to break the ice? You said you did an icebreaker.
I had everyone. The first thing I did, we went around in a circle and said our names, and then we wrote our names on name tags. And then for the icebreaker, everyone wrote down an experience that they had that was unique. And we all put it into a big bucket and stirred it around, and we all everyone pulled out someone else's piece of paper and read it and had to try and guess who it was.
Yeah,
That's cool.
That was fun. And then that morphed into other games, which was so cool about working with this group of students, is that they really brought up a lot of energy and creativity and new ideas. So after we played that game, which they really liked, the next day, Max, can you tell them how they changed the game?
Yeah, one kid came up with the idea, why don't we do the same game the next day with potential DJ names? So everyone came up with a DJ name, and then we all put it into a bucket and drew it, and we had to guess then.
So that was really fun. And that was with the first version of that game. We played outside when we first met, the first day of class. We did it at 10 a.m. because I figured no teenager wants to get up and be somewhere at 9 a.m. 10 is even pushing it, but okay, we'll start at 10. Went to 1. We let everybody know we'd not be serving lunch, but we did have snacks and that kind of stuff. But when we met, since COVID was still happening, although thankfully at kind of a lull in our community at the time we ran the camp, we were outside. I wanted to meet with them all outside, so they had an opportunity to see who wants to wear a mask, and we wanted to make sure everybody, we just wanted everyone to be comfortable. So I kind of just wanted to see who was wearing masks, who wants to wear masks, make sure we told them if they want to wear a mask, we really encourage you, to be safe and that kind of thing. And then we played the game, and it was just a lot of fun just outside, and it was a really great icebreaker, getting to know everybody. And then we moved inside, Max. I think we did studio. I showed him around I did a studio tour next, showed him all around the studio. And then even brought him back into the main studio room and showed him how to work the turntables and the equipment and things like that. I think was our second thing that we did. Would you say, Max?
I know we did a studio. I'm not sure the exact order, but we did do with us, yeah. And then the next day.
Oh, hold up. We forgot. Also on the first day you said that was the most boring day. Can you remember why?
Oh, did we do the FCC rules?
Yeah.
I thought we did that the second day. So we took our station pamphlets, handbooks, and made copies and gave them all to the students. And then we spent like some amount of time going through that. And, that was probably the most boring part of the whole camp, but it needs to be done.
But also probably the most important, that was the rules and all that kind of stuff. And they had great, questions about FCC stuff and what's okay and all that. And that was kind of the end of the first day, Max. I think we ended up wrapping up after that.
I thought we did the rules on the second day, so you're gonna have to remind me what we did the second day.
Okay, I've got the cheat sheet in front of me. So yeah, and then Tuesday we came in, we did the name game, the DJ name game. We started with that, and then we did. We actually let the students get into the studio and practice around a little bit, just kind of mess around with the equipment. And then we actually had airtime that day, Max. Do you remember what we did with the airtime that day?
Yeah, so we had enough time for each. Was it 5-minute time slots? I think we had an hour. So we had 12 kids, and each kid partnered up, and we had 5 minutes for them. And they interviewed each other. And some of the ideas were really good. Like there was one group who they did like fake horoscopes and read them out to the audience. It was really good. I was impressed with the results of that experiment.
So was this from a guest DJ that did the horoscopes, or was this something that they came up with on their own?
Yeah, they all that was 2 campers, and they came up with that all on their own. And yeah.
Cool.
Sorry about my lighting issues over here. Yeah, that was neat. And we just we threw them on the air really quickly. We're like, okay, here you go. And I think they had a little more time than that, Max, because we had 2.
Oh, we have 2 hours?
Actually, it was just 1 hour. I guess it was just 5 minutes, just a real quick, it was like speed dating, but on the radio. And it was cool because it gave the students an opportunity to just go for it, just get in there. They didn't have any time to get all worked up overnight. Oh, I'm going on air tomorrow or anything like that. It was just like, here you go, and you're going to get on air. And it was a good way for them to kind of break the ice with all the equipment. And then later that day is when we had the DJ panel of DJs came in and basically talked to we had 4 DJs come in and talk to the students about how they plan their shows, how they promote their shows, what do they do while they're on air, what are some important events that they've had to address, that kind of thing. Max, can you remember anything else that they were talking about?
Talking about how they take music, how they don't get stumped, creative blocks, I guess, when picking music and when making shows, when deciding what to do for their shows. There was a lot of making, not on air advice, but pre-show advice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one moment when DJ talked about their engagement with the community, but yeah. Can you think of?
Well, they were talking a little bit about Black Lives Matter and Ukraine and dealing with these kinds of issues, which was interesting for the students to think about, and about how they deal with these issues, maybe not in a new traditional news kind of way, but just in the music that they're selecting and all that kind of thing. So that was pretty interesting.
And also, there was a lot of talk about making a show promotion. Like we all, I don't know if your stations do this, but we have a bunch of cards and we can read them for other shows on our station. And we were talking about making those, and a lot of DJs were reading their own to the campers. I don't know if we had the campers create show promos. I don't think we did.
We
but
were going to. That was one thing we didn't actually have them end up doing.
Yeah.
So,
well,
but here I have a. Should I show my PowerPoint, Max?
yeah.
Okay. Well, this has some pictures so you all can see. Let's see if I can remember how to share my screen and everything. Okay, y'all got it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is our crew. These are our camper. Oh, whoops, sorry, skipping ahead. These are our campers. One thing at first we got all, and this is nothing, to say anything bad about young white men, but in the beginning we got all white boys signed up. And they're all great. We knew a lot of them, but I was really like, the whole point is that we really want to get some young women and people of color on the radio. And we eventually were able to recruit some people, that were more diverse. But in the future, we really want to think about ways that we can reach out to other communities. We had like a week. It seemed like once we got the scholarship, we only had like a week to get the word out. And we reached out to a lot of different nonprofits in our community that are working with, students from all backgrounds. But I think it was just like the last minute thing. It was hard, to get people, geared up at the last second. And signed up. And also, I think it might have been a little bit close to getting out of school. We did it not the week after school, but the week after that. And which is a big, I think, vacation time, and also probably a big time for kids to be like, we don't want to do anything. So maybe if it had been a little later in the summer, we would have, could have gotten a little more interest. But it turned out to be a great sized group. 12 students was just perfect, especially with the pandemic. And it was able to give a lot of personal attention and their own airtime.
It can also be split really well. It can go into 3, 2, and it's like a not factor, but it goes into 60. So you can do like hours pretty well.
Right. So it was great. And they were just really, all of them were very unique personalities, very different individuals. This is mixed up. Some of our DJs are in here. As well, but this is
who had the mixed max shoes.
So this is like we were talking about the kind of the speed dating situation. These were our very first students to go on the air, and they did a great job. A really interesting interview between the two of them, and they ended up really, some of these groups, once they did this kind of quick date thing, I mean, dating is the weird word with, it obviously wasn't dating, but that's the only thing I can think of here. But they got along great, and they formed new friendships. And, you can just see in the pictures that I don't think very many of these kids knew each other to begin with, maybe one or two, but by the end, they were all had really strong friendships, it seemed like.
That's super cool.
This is the DJ panel, DJ Power Trash, DJ Molly, Jackson Lee Swain, and Love Always. And they did just a great job. It was really interesting just to hear the different ways the DJs approach their shows. Some of them really plan their shows, some of them are very spontaneous, and just encouraging the students to find their own way to approach radio. They were really great. And you can see we had the doors propped open, and we had these giant fans. We were doing everything we could to get ventilation in our building. And we had HEPA filters in each room. The grant also helped us get HEPA filters for each of the rooms, which was cool. And here's a little more of them talking about their work. And then with the headphones, we got out some electrical tape. This is cool. This is just another, just show you how cool teenagers are and the youth of today. You know, people maybe be down on them, but I just was totally impressed with the creativity of this group. We gave them a little bit of electrical tape, and they were just supposed to put, I was thinking they're just going to put a little piece of color on, you know, on the cord so that they knew whose headphones what. And they just like went crazy with this electrical tape and started doing all these great designs on the sides of their headphones and stuff. So we've somehow got a brand new activity out of that. Decorate your headphones. She did a cool job. She did fire and ice on each side. That was neat. Oh, excuse me. And then this DJ, he did on one side a Ukrainian flag, on the other side he made up his own flag, which was really neat.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And then, you know, again, a lot of the time it's like, oh God, what are we going to do with these students? But we had this, you know, radio station at their disposal. So some of the time was just kind of letting them get in there and mess around with the studio, since the soundboard was not live at the time. They could just get in there. And they went in one time and they made up this like trivia game. And one of the girls, you know, she got the like Jeopardy soundtrack going through the computer and stuff, and was asking people, and this is not on air, but they were just having fun, interviewing each other, asking each other trivia questions and stuff, just getting used to using the equipment. And so that was a lot of fun. Max, any comments so far? I don't need to close you out here.
As well as like in here, not on the air, we also have a second studio. I don't know if you know, but there's our old equipment from before we redid our current studio, we have in the back of the station, and we had a lot of playtime back there to mess around. Pretty much there was always like one person in there messing around, because that doesn't go out over there, or it can, but it wasn't hooked up to.
So, and I do have pictures of that Studio B we'll come to later. You're right, Max. And it was, like I said, it was just great to have the open studio and the students be able just to play with the equipment and get used to it. We also had, this is a performance space that we completed just before the pandemic. So unfortunately has not gotten very many performances. But it was great for this class because we could set up tables and they could have different work areas where they could prepare their shows, work together on building playlists, come up with interview questions. And this is, I think this is where they're working on the experiment, which Max was talking about earlier, which is the blackout poetry, which is a really cool thing where you just, like you said, you just take words and you basically black through any of the words you don't want and create a brand new poem out of the page. And a lot of the students found like their show names or their DJ names through doing this experiment. So that was pretty cool.
What were some of the DJ names? Do you remember?
Yeah, I have a couple of them. Let's see. I know there was a DJ Roomba. There was a DJ Quick Chips.
Yeah.
DJ Slee Stack. Another camper named Max. His DJ name was DJ Max. There was a DJ Lux, Lux. Their name was Alex. His name was Alex. So
Nice.
and then there was a DJ C Star. Those are just the ones I have right now.
Right on.
And this is, I'm trying to see if my camera might not like make it work, but this is no, it won't. But anyway, it was a piece of the blackout poetry. But that's a great way to, I thought that was a great way to come up with a show name. Just start blacking out things on a piece of paper until something works.
Yeah, that's way fun.
So let's see. And here's Derek. Actually, he's the one who does Inside a Question. And you can see he has stickers for his show, and the students were adorning themselves in those. And then he actually was having them record their answers, is magic real? And he'll be incorporating that into a radio show in the future. So that will be exciting. But he really spent a lot of time with the students interviewing them. And you can tell they really had a fun time working with him. And let's see. And this is just to show you again, like the just great collaborative spirit that they had. They'd be helping each other find music and all kinds of different things. So they really enjoyed having some. We were concerned about filling every moment with something to do, but we found that they really liked a little bit of downtime just to work on their shows, to hang out a little bit, and not always just be constant activity. Max?
Yeah, snack time was key.
Yeah.
When at the end of the camp, we actually had like the kind of lead up to the end. Everyone knew that they were going to do a show, a half an hour time slot by the end of the camp. So while they were doing their half an hour, we had time to just wind down from the camp and, reflect. And we ended up having some game time as well.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Max, tell them about this game. I don't know if everybody's.
It's called spike ball. There's like a trampoline. It's like reverse volleyball almost. You hit it down and you keep it in the air. I don't know. It was a fun thing to do when there was downtime.
And they did a little bit of sidewalk chalk art. That was fun too. And yeah, and one of the campers actually said to me, they've been to a bunch of camps, but they really liked this camp because there was time just to hang out and, talk to the other campers, and that they didn't necessarily love how everything always seemed like it was so structured at other camps. So they liked a little bit of the freedom. Let's see. And this is the back studio, like Max was talking about, Studio B. This was our only DJ that did an all vinyl set. Most of them were playing music off their phones, off digital media. But he had a really nice vinyl collection, and he did a whole vinyl set, which was impressive. Vinyl lives. This is Jackson Lee Swain, one of our DJs, helping our camper named Jackson. So Jackson and Jackson. And Jackson did a great job. He would be most of the time. So, we were doing things with the other campers and occupying them while the one student was on air. Each student got a half an hour airtime by the end. And so Jackson would be around to help them out if they had any questions or things like that while we were running other activities with the rest of the students. But then by the end, Jackson had trained the other students so well that they ended up just helping one another, which was always cool. And here's just a few of the students. Like I said, we happened to have that week a 2-hour. We actually had Thursday and Friday. We had a lot of airtime that week. People traveling for summer and whatnot. So we were able to give each of the 12 campers a half an hour on air at the end, and they loved that. It was a lot of fun. And they all did a really great job. I'm like, okay, we're ready to bring these students on. And then at the very end, on the last day, Max, we had.
The last day we had pizza party.
Good, right answer. Yeah, we had a pizza party. That was a big hit. Let me tell you, teenagers like to have pizza. And it was fun just to have some social time at the end to kind of reflect and unwind, and then think about the future, which it seems like they all want to stay involved. Right now, it seems like a lot of them are traveling and whatnot, but we're going to try to get a weekly radio show. And I think what we're going to do is just kind of rotate around, like every week, a different student will take it. I think is how we're going to do it, but we'll have to wait till they come back in town to see where it goes from there. So that is the little presentation I pulled together a couple minutes before this meeting, just so you guys can have an idea of what it actually looked like.
Oh, that looks super fun, you guys.
It was.
So what were your goals with making this camp? What were you telling the campers that they would get from this, and how did you see integrating this into what the station is already doing?
Well, Max, you want me to answer that one?
Yeah, I was pointing at you, yeah.
Okay. We love having the youth on the airwaves. We have a couple of high schools that send interns, and the interns always end up doing radio shows, and they always do an amazing job. And they just bring a freshness, a creativity, a new vision to the station, a different perspective on current events. They seem, the youth is really engaged in current events. They really, it's like they believe they can change the world, and they can, and they're still at that point. And so I think, I can only, I guess, speak for me, and that personally, I just wanted to hear more of those voices and give those students more of an opportunity, because I knew it would just be, a fun thing for them, and then an exciting thing for our audience to hear. It's something different. But Max is 15 now, and when he was younger, there's a million different camps. There's all kinds of summer stuff for kids through middle school to do, art camps and all music camps, but there's so little for high schoolers, really. And I think we just wanted to, give high schoolers a new opportunity, something fun to do with the summer, something different besides sitting at home. It's been a hard time for everybody. Give them an opportunity to feel like their voices really matter, and then give them a platform for expressing themselves. I mean, those are all the things that were important to me. Max?
Yeah, well, I mean, currently we need more DJs, and it was awesome to be able to get people who aren't just like, a lot of our DJs are just older. I apologize. It's not older, not children, and they're all Caucasian. Not all of them, definitely not all of them, but a majority. And it was good to be able to get a diversity, not as much as we would like, but diversity in age. And just, it's something new. I don't really, you never hear children on the radio, so that was cool. It's different. It's community. I feel like, not some big station is gonna have a kid on air. So I thought that was really cool.
So you were telling the campers that the camp was to make them into DJs, or to make them into radio hosts? Is that what they were coming to do?
So yeah, it's not just, you could totally come and not become a DJ later on, but we did tell them that if they wanted a radio show, that was totally an option. And the point of the camp was to give the knowledge on how to do a radio show. So it's not, a tool you can use that often, but I think it's a pretty valuable tool. And definitely we gave them the opportunity to exercise that.
So it sounds like you trained them in terms of using the technology. Did you give them conceptual training as well in terms of how to plan a show, or is that what the DJs did when they came?
Yeah. So the DJs talk about that a lot. And also there was like so many just questions just asked. It was like leading the camp. It wasn't like being a teacher. It was more like leading it as like a friend. So all these questions, just any question that they had about making a show, and we helped them make a show, and we talked to them about how we make shows. There was like no question left unanswered, kind of. I don't know how to explain it, but
yeah.
So I'd be curious to hear what both of you, like what conclusions you came to. I mean, I got that the food played a role, but what you found, what you learned were really important towards the success of something like this? Like, what were the secrets of your success? And I get the food thing. I think that I understand. I think that's important.
one thing I will say, it might be a little biased, but I thought it was really valuable to have someone similar age to the campers. You can, like, a kid can kind of tell when something's, a parent or an adult might not be able to tell when they're teaching something and it would be boring, or, that's not something they want to learn. But with the insight of like a younger person, definitely that helps. Mom, is there any?
I think I really think that having Max there to break the ice with the teenagers was just amazing. Now, not everybody's gonna have a person on their staff that so, knows radio so well. Max has grown up, when he was 4 years old, sleeping under the soundboard, but that was what was amazing to me, was to have him be, he was kind of like the liaison between the adult world and the teenage world. And we had him send out all the communication and that kind of stuff beforehand, so that he could already have a little bit of a relationship with them, and that they could feel more comfortable going to him with questions as opposed to coming, to the adult or whatever. And then he was also able to I was able to check in with him, like, okay, is everybody having a good time? Is everybody getting along? That kind of thing. So I think that was really key, to have a teenager on our staff working with them. But I think just a lot of the icebreakers and a lot of the games and a lot of getting to know one another, and then the students teaching one another, that I don't really know, where the magic was there, but the students were just really getting along with one another, and that was totally key.
I did notice there was a lot of, I don't know how you would replicate this if creating your own camp, but there was a lot of there was at least 3 kids who went to the same school, and then one of those kids knew another kid that didn't go to their school. There's an interweb of just connection, and they had shared interests, and there was just things that brought them together, and that really helped. I don't know if you did it with, we actually had a kid from who came in from Chicago, to his family was visiting, and he'd been to Louisville before, so he decided he had nothing better to do, come to our camp. And we actually were able to pull him in to the circle of Louisville, and I feel like by the end he definitely felt at home. So just connecting with the students, having someone there to connect the students to each other, is very valuable.
So Max, why did people think that this was relevant? I mean, we get a lot of feedback here that a lot of people don't even know how to use a radio your age. They're just like, what, they're like, they don't do that. They do YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, and they don't see the point of getting into the radio.
I think a lot of people, we asked everyone when they listen to radio and stuff, and almost every single person said their parents have it on in the car when they're driving. So that was I think everyone's main view of radio, just something that's on in the car, and not their main focus. When you listen to Spotify or music, it's kind of in your direct mind headspace, but radio is kind of slightly more in the background. So I feel it's just, it makes it, I don't know how it makes it relevant, but everyone had radio in their life that was subconsciously there. And it's I don't know how to put it into words, but it's something you can't, music is unique, but it's not someone who's radio's almost a conversation with the listener, while music is just you're being fed this, but radio is a stronger connection. It's more personal than just music. So that's what I gained from there, from talking with the students.
So all the students felt that they could relate to doing radio, that it was relevant to them?
I wouldn't say that. I would say that definitely a lot of people said they never, not a lot of people, but some people said they would never, turn on the radio by themselves. But when their parents turn on the radio, that's, I don't know, that's how they connect to it.
But how did they feel about doing it? I mean, was it the collectiveness of the process that was appealing, or what made it of interest to them to actually go and do it?
I think when we were in person pitching the idea kind of at this festival, there was people, and we told them being on the radio, it's almost a fame thing, getting your voice out there, and just thinking that people you never even met could hear you. It's like like a popularity thing, kind of getting your, like, you could be famous, radio famous by doing the show, and we'll put you on the actual radio.
I was
And they bought
surprised.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they like that a lot.
I was surprised, Ursula. Most of them did say they listened to the radio. Some of them said they listen to, to our station all the time, which was surprising to me because I've done other things with teenagers where none of them are listening to the radio at all. So I think some of these campers, their parents are big fans of the station and stuff like that, so they're hearing it. And we did have on the first day, we had a big discussion about the importance of radio to them and what it means to them. And the ones who, like Max said, the ones who aren't listening all the time or choosing to listen, it's still there and they're still hearing it and they're still being influenced by it. So I think they realize that if they get on the radio, then they can, as Max said, then they can influence other people as well. And they were all very interested in doing that. They all had something they wanted to say, they all had something they wanted to communicate. And they recognized they can't do those things, so well by making a Spotify playlist or whatever, because when you can actually talk and speak about it, it's a whole new level. So I think that's what they really liked. It wasn't just making a playlist, it was an opportunity, to be on stage.
But how is that different than, say, being on Instagram?
On Instagram, I will say it's hard, there's not a lot of discoverability, and pretty much like a young kid, everyone who they're friends with and who can see them on Instagram or Facebook or all these social medias, they like either know in person. You're not going to find someone random really on Instagram. But with this radio, you don't have to build up a massive following to be seen. You can just, we give them this opportunity to get on the radio, and anyone can hear them, anyone can tune in and listen.
Oh, that's great. And that meant they got that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Thank you. That's very interesting.
Oh, the word I'm looking for is it's a platform. Yeah, it's a platform that they already have access to.
Yeah, it's a public platform.
With the audience, already there, I guess.
Yeah.
And Ursula, you asked what we promised them. So this was, we've updated it now, but this is the website that we kind of were putting out there. And what we promised was that they would get the skills they need to become professional broadcasters. They get the hands-on experience with the equipment in the Art FM studio and obtain the FCC training required for FM broadcasting. And then we promised them at the end they would get to produce a 30-minute radio program.
Nice.
And it really was, in a way, a lot of what we were doing is the same training we're doing with the grown-ups, with the grown-up volunteers that we're bringing in. It was just a more extensive, week-long intensive of doing that. And then like I said, we were able to give the full scholarships. These are some of our instructors. Oh, let's see. I don't have it on here anymore, but we mentioned in the beginning, our board thought it was important in the beginning to make sure we talk about what do we do if COVID does hit, the camp, are we going to reimburse the money? Are we going to go virtual? That kind of thing. What are our structure? And we also had a really intense health form they had to complete before they came, making sure they hadn't been exposed and all that kind of stuff. So, those were some of the logistical things. But luckily, it was okay. And then we have some recordings. If you guys want to hear, I can just play you just a couple samples. I know we're running over 5 now. But
Yeah, that'd be fun.
we can just hear some of these. Let's see. Hopefully y'all will be able to hear it.
I think you have to hit in the share, you have to hit audio.
Oh, I do?
There's an audio tab.
Oh. Okay.
You see it?
No, it's on the Zoom.
Yeah, is there like a little green bar at the top of your screen?
Hello, DJ Quick Chips. This is Lounge of Luck, the part of the Art FM camp. You're listening to WXOX LP Louisville. So I'm going to get us started with some music. The idea of this show is that basically the idea of this show is that any song can play from any genre, and you just gotta be lucky to see if you get a nice song going for you, or you can find out some new music that you never heard of. So let's get it started.
So let's see. So you can hear that like loud feedback and all this kind of thing. But luckily, you know, with our radio station, we embrace humanity. We embrace the mistakes that human beings make. And you know, there was a few in this round, but I can't say that there is any more than when the grown-ups get started. So.
And like the longer,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Max.
the more that was the first one that we did the whole time, and the more people saw other people do their shows, the more they learned, and the more, you know, they improved just by spectating.
Yeah.
And each of them would improve too, but that was like, you know, you could tell he was like, oh, like, you know, he's kind of shocked in the beginning, like, oh, I'm actually on the radio. By the end of his set, I mean, this guy was like ready to go professional. He really did a great job. So it was neat to hear them in the course of the half hour become more comfortable with themselves on air and the music they were playing and that kind of thing. And these are just some samples from these are all going to be the very first moments these students were on air, because it's what's easy for me to play right now.
So this is on Facebook? You put it on Facebook?
No, this is just on this website, artxfm.com/nextwave.
Okay.
That's, yeah, we haven't.
Genesis with the Brazilian.
Some of them, you know, some of them really wanted to talk, and some of them just wanted to play the music. You know, there's one that he did a half an hour of just him talking for 30 minutes, but you know, that's what he wanted to do. So this one was cool. This girl had an interesting take on her show. I'll let you all listen.
You are listening to WXOX LP Louisville, and this is The Sun Tastes Too Loud. It is a show dedicated to stories and the spoken word. Stories for hundreds of years were kept alive by oral retellings and song, and what better way to keep those alive than radio? To begin this episode, we will start with a riddle. I'm a wave with no water, art with no visual, and a community across the world. What am I?
Did anybody catch her riddle?
I caught half of it. What was it?
It's a wave without water, art without a visual, and community across the world. What am I?
Radio station.
Hey, Davine.
Hey.
Get the prize. And she didn't tell the girl didn't tell the answer to the riddle until the very end of her radio show, which was, I thought, really cool. And then when I didn't get it like you did, Davine. You're quick. But I thought that was awesome. So and then she did her whole show was about stories, and all the songs she played were, you know, songs that really told stories and stuff like that. And then she read stories in between. It was great. I mean, really fantastic.
I like that.
So we loved it. I haven't been in a place, especially since the pandemic, where I've woken up in the morning and been excited to jump out of bed and get somewhere. And that the second day of class, I was just like, I couldn't wait to be there. I couldn't wait to be with these students. I couldn't wait to see what the heck we were going to do that day. And every day for the whole course was like that. And then when it was over, I don't know, I really felt like it was one of the best things that we had done as a radio station. We've done a lot of really great things, but this was just so inspiring, and it had everything to do with a great group of students. And I don't know how you get a great group of students, or if it's just luck or what it is, but it was just phenomenal, and it was very inspiring. They were wonderful. I miss them already. I really, look forward to keeping them involved in the station. And then it was just really fun to work with Max on this too. So doing the mother-son thing was really cool. I had a great partner. And we pulled it off. And that was kind of the amazing thing. It was like I said, at the beginning of the camp, we're like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do every day? And we just like figured it out, and we worked it out. And it was great to be open like that, and to be able to respond to the students and what they were interested in, and just kind of craft every single day for them. So we feel like we've got to go ahead.
Did you build any next steps into it to keep them connected after the camp?
Max?
Yeah, so I don't know if you've heard of Discord, but it's like a sort of message form. You can call and type on there with each other, and we made a group chat on there, a server, and we sent out a Google form through that, and we can all stay connected through that. And our Google form was our normal show proposal, and we're filtering through those now, just approving them. And I don't know if we're gonna bring them in person or have them do virtual. I think we'll let them choose. They're already trained, so basically we just need to approve them, and we can let them go on air.
Oh, cool.
They all really, like the end of the thing, they were all like, well, one girl was so sweet. Like, we were in our pizza party, and she like looked at her clock or whatever and was like, oh my gosh. And she just looked at me like, I thought she was going to start crying. And she's like, we only have 20 minutes left. And it was towards the end of the camp, and she's like, I'm just getting to know everybody, And so it was really sweet that you could tell they all wanted to stay connected, and they all had a, how do we keep doing this? We want to keep, we want to stay involved. I've received some emails from the parents, that they had a great time. They just want to keep doing it. So, so it's like we cultivated this little, this group of, fresh young DJs that are very excited to get on the airwaves. And, of course, we've had some stuff going on at the station, and I think a lot of them have been traveling, but we feel like, it was a great way to recruit new folks. And I'm just excited to keep them involved, and they seem to be staying connected on social media. So yeah, they're like, they're our newest batch of DJs, and they just happen to be much younger than all the other ones.
Oh, that's so cool.
So I forgot if you said this already, but how did you attract the students? How did that happen?
Max, did you want to?
Well, we sent out an email, I think, to every single DJ. So if there was a DJ who had a family friend or a child, they could invite them that way. And then we also went to a festival at our local library, and a ton of youth came out to that. We dragged some in through there. We had it posted on all our social media pages. And I think that was the main attractor, social media, but also
I emailed all our our massive station email list. We put out a few different emails on that, and we had it on our website as well. But really, that event, I think that tabling event at the library was really the best thing. Just getting out to the community, talking to people, about what it was going to be and that kind of thing. Letting the parents kind of meet us too, because I'm very protective of my son. I want to know if he's going somewhere, who are the people I'm going to be sending him to be with. So I think having that personal contact really helped. But we want to do more, and in the future we really, I think more reaching out to area nonprofits a little more ahead of time. Like I said, I did this all like a week before the camp, but if I had had more lead time and been able to reach out to some different organizations. We did have one, Louisville Leopards, which is like a percussion group for youth here. They had quite a few people come out because I contacted the leader of that group. And
Well,
he-
it seems like if you limited it to 12, you got enough to do it.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
with even your short notice and it seems like,
it was
you know,
perfect. It
it's
was
a good thing you didn't have more because
I know, really.
By the way, your studio looks great.
Thanks.
Really wonderful, great looking studio inside.
Thank you so much, Debbie. And yeah, we've just we've redone it over the pandemic. So many of our DJs haven't even been in there yet, our old school DJs. So
Boy, I'm envious. Yeah, that's nice. I like it.
thank you. Thank you. It's all hand, the woodwork is all hand built. My husband's a carpenter. Sean, many of you know Sean, but he built it all by hand. And so it's just absolutely gorgeous. It really
Yeah, I
is.
noticed the desks were beautiful.
Yeah.
That I was looking at the woodwork
Yeah.
and the floors. There's a great wooden floor there. Did he put the wood floor in?
He did, yeah.
Oh,
He did. I know. It's awesome.
So does your husband and your son contract out?
You have to ask them. They're independent agents.
Big bucks. And it costs it.
Yeah, we're a traveling circus. I think we can make it out to California, Joseph. I think that'd be all right.
We require first class flights.
But we loved it, and I would really encourage you all. Teenagers can be a little bit intimidating, I find, but they're wonderful, and they really just want someone to pay attention to them, give them some interest. That's what we all want, I think, you know. And
What was did you define the age group?
yeah, we did. We're doing.
High school students.
First, it was just high school students, but we got a couple people reached out. They had students who had just graduated from high school who wanted to participate. So we opened it up to teenagers, high school and above, but kept it teenagers.
Just graduated middle school. And we're going to school.
Yeah, we had some, like Fiona, who just graduated high school. She was interested in coming. And so we said, okay, well, she could come too. But they didn't. And it ended up being mainly, I think, between 14 and 16 was what it ended up being. I think, you know, teenagers end up getting jobs, and that once they get their driver's license and all that, they're hard to pin down.
Yeah.
But that age group really, I think that age group really needs stuff. They really need creative.
Sharon, how did you find out about the grant? Did you happen to just luck up on it, or did you know where to go look for it?
The city sent out an email, and I don't know how I ended up on whatever list. And I got an email saying that there was this money and the deadline was tomorrow. And I thought, well, it sounds like they're having trouble giving this money away. We may as well go for it. And
Wow.
I did. And it was totally one of those like, okay, and I've got to admit too that Art FM has never gotten a grant that we've applied for until this, and which was hilarious because I've spent, weeks working on grants and I don't get it. And I wrote this one grant. I promised I was done in an hour, and I ended up getting it. So I think that's my new attitude towards grant writing. Throw something in at the last minute. I can't spend all these hours. But that was awesome. That was really fortunate. And it just made it a lot of fun. And it also made it like really low stress for us because like if like Max and I were talking, like if we couldn't come, I don't know, if people didn't like the camp or we couldn't come up with the right thing to do or whatever, Max was like, whatever, it's free. How can they complain? But I think it ended up being worthwhile for everyone.
It sounds like it was just a really good time.
It was. I just can't wait to do it again, honestly. I can't wait to, to improve it for the future and, just take some of the things we learned and just really amplify them. But it was cool. And I just want to just emphasize that if you do something like this and you do involve the youth, give them an opportunity to help steer the course of where it's going to go, because they have great ideas and they'll come up with things you never thought of before. And you're like, oh, that's awesome. So,
That is
we
awesome.
learned as much as anyone, I think. I did anyway. It was great.
Yeah, and letting people choose what they want to do, give input, it helps them for later in life, and builds them with independence and stuff.
So how many people do you feel like you had instructing?
So Max, go ahead.
Almost the whole camp. It was just me and my mom. But then there was 1 or 2 days where we had not instructors but helpers. You saw Jackson in the photos. He was helping, and then there was like the volunteer speakers or guest speakers. Who the city actually we were able to pay them.
Yeah.
So mainly just 3.
It was mainly Max and I for most of the time because, like I said, we didn't exactly know what we were going to do, and it was a little bit easier not to have another grown-up there. Like, that might be like, "Well, what are they doing here?"
Well,
You know?
well, it's helpful to know that you were able to do 12 students and you consider it a success, and you didn't need that much manpower to do it. So
Mhm.
that's helpful if
Yeah.
any of the rest of us are considering doing it.
Yeah. At this age, they're very motivated, to do their own thing, and they don't need as much, younger kids, you got to be watching them all the time or whatever. But at this age, they were able to do their own independent projects, work on their playlists, things like that. So you didn't have to be hovering over them all the time.
So they had one simple, their main goal was to do their own show at the end of the week to focus on. So that's pretty straightforward. And then the other things are learning ways to do that. So,
Mhm.
I mean,
So it was a week long.
Yes. Just 3 hours every day, which was perfect. I would not have wanted to do a full day camp. That would have been exhausting.
well, it's so exciting to hear about because I know that's a theme that comes up often in our sessions about, how do we get young people interested and excited about what we're doing. And you guys just lived it. So cool.
Well, we're proud of ourselves. Again, like I said, we didn't know what was going to happen. So it's great when you push yourself into a new territory and try something new and it actually works. And we did it. So if anyone has any questions or, we're, like I said, we're no experts. We've just done this once. So if anybody has any questions or, if want to get something like this going, feel free to reach out to Max and myself. I'd be glad to hear from you.
Did you, in your grant, did you give a justification for this? Did you have to say like what the benefits of this was?
Yeah, let's see. Let's see what I said.
While there's a moment, I was going to say it's nice to meet you all.
Max, before you go, what is going on your t-shirt? What is that?
This is one of our, let's see if I can flip my camera. This is one of our DJs, and he's a local.
It's reading correctly.
Oh, it is? All right. It says, his DJ, his name is Ramel with 2 L's. He's also a local rapper. So it's RMLLW2LLZ. So Ramel with 2 L's, yeah.
It says Ramel with 2 L's, yeah. You got to see his record label, Creative Natives. That's an interesting word as well.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Max. Thank you for taking time.
Yeah, we really enjoyed your presentation.
Yeah, and we were not insulted by your comment about old people. We know. We all know.
We're old. We know that.
We know that.
Yeah, and we don't care.
No, proud of it.
Yeah, just a little worried. Just a little worried about it.
Hey, it happens.
It happens.
Yeah, Ursula, on my proposal, I just basically talked very similar to what I said on the website, that we'd be providing students with the, professional skills they need to become FM broadcasters, and they'd get hands-on training on the equipment and skills they could use, in the future and take to any radio station.
Did
Real life
anybody want
broadcasting experience.
Did anybody want to do podcasts with this? Did they say they wanted to be podcasters?
A couple of them did, and we had them apply for the scholarships. It was just a very seriously one sentence on why do you want to come to this camp. And a couple of them mentioned that they're interested in becoming podcasters. But then in person, when we got to talking about it in person, they didn't really express that interest in podcasting so much. They all really enjoyed the radio thing. But we did spend some time talking about Pacifica Audio Port as a way to, if you do a radio show and you want to get it out nationally, there's these opportunities. And we talked about the differences between podcasting and radio broadcasting in that, about music rights and copyright and all that kind of stuff, how they couldn't just do a music show as a podcast without working really hard to get all the permissions and all that kind of stuff. So I think in the end, they're like, oh, we kind of just like doing radio. So, but we'll see where they take it,
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for sharing with us today. I really enjoyed it.
Well, good. I'm so glad. We really enjoyed presenting it and, of course, doing the course as well. So thanks for the opportunity to come talk about it, because it's been a minute, it kind of all kinds of things going on. So it's nice to revisit and go back and look at all these memories and listen again to the great shows that they've done. So
Yeah.
we loved it. I can put that link in the chat if anyone's interested
In the page?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to keep us updated if you guys do it again, or if you guys have another session with your same students.
Yeah. I think that the next step is that we'll have a weekly radio show, and that they'll kind of rotate in and out with that radio show. So we'll
Nice.
let you know when that happens and how you can tune in. And some of these, really, you just find these students in your community and they've got so much sparkle and shine and just so much energy and enthusiasm and creativity. It's just like, wow, some of them, it's like they're going to be a star, and it's really exciting to see them start, here.
Yeah.
And give them the confidence and the voice and just the opportunity to know that there are ways to share their voice and their vision and their music with others. So
It's interesting to hear you guys' take on it, because I got to witness Ursula's class on podcasting, and there seems to be an element of excitement that you guys have in yours, that they're flying live, at the end instead of recording, because I know Ursula's talked about being a little frustrated. People, especially their students in college, and they get caught up with everything else and it's kind of becomes like a last minute thing, kind of, right, to get this podcast recorded. But if you're going to be live at the end, and maybe that nervousness kind of propels you to think about it more urgently, and just fly, just suddenly you're just flying. And I wonder if that process, if you did that enough, if you adjusted after that to podcasting, that would also help you in that arena later.
Yeah, for me, just personally, I really like live radio because there's no homework. You can just grab your records and go in and play them, and that's it, you're there. But
yeah,
like podcasting, or to me, a pre-recorded show or something is much more stress, because I don't know, everything feels like, for me, I feel like everything has to be perfect, and I'm going back and editing and reworking and listening and going, oh, that didn't sound right. Whereas when it's live, it just goes out there and it's,
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. It's about, more pressure to be perfect. That's
maybe.
Interesting.
Maybe for me it is, but then we do have a lot of DJs who will do their show live, like Derek Wood with Inside a Question. He does the show live, but then he records it, and then he's able to podcast it after he's recorded it. So he approaches it as a live thing, but then he's able to distribute it as a podcast later. So that might be a way to kind of keep that energy. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That'd be
too.
I think that's a whole different webinar on that.
Yeah.
I think that the fact that radio has been around for a century and you need a license, there's some regulation about it, gives the radio more of a legitimacy than a mere podcaster.
Yeah, I see that.
I agree too. And it
It's-
gives, yeah.
If there's a gate you have to pass through.
Mhm. And like Max says, like podcasting and social media is just everything's just in this huge mix of soup. Whereas the FM
Right.
is a much more limited, dial for people to find you on.
Yeah.
Right. And when you join the radio, you join this long tradition of,
Mhm.
groundbreaking people that have been on the radio.
Mhm.
Right. And all the groundbreaking people that are on the radio right now
Mm-hmm.
at this very moment.
Well,
For
cool.
me, it's great to see you how excited you were and how much you enjoyed it. That's very interesting and helpful.
Yeah, I did because I was almost a little bit, I don't want to say I was dreading it but I was very nervous,
Apprehensive.
Yeah, that's the word. So it was nice to,
It's a new deal. It's apprehensive, worthy
You-
of apprehension.
that's a great, perfect word, yes.
Yeah, you don't know how it's going to go.
But it was fun. And, and teenagers, I think they want something different to do, Max, right? Like, they want to be around other teenagers, for one thing. So you just put a bunch of teenagers together and, that's the start of something good. But we
Well,
loved it. We really
Thank you again. This was so awesome.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing this too with the people who will watch it online.
Well, thanks. I'm
Um,
glad to share our knowledge. Max, thanks for being here with us. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Sharon and Max. And yeah, well, you have to keep us in the loop.
We will. Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, yeah, that new show will be going soon and you guys can all tune in wherever you are in the world. You'll love it. They're wonderful. Definitely, I'd say reach out, find some teenagers in your community. If you're, if your old DJs are getting tired or whatever and you need some fresh blood, then it's out there and they're eager and they are still interested in radio and they're definitely interested in getting their voices out there. So highly recommend it.
Okay, well, we'll leave it there.
Okay, bye-bye.
Good to see everybody.
Nice meeting you guys.
Yeah, good to meet you, Max. And we'll see you guys next week.
And he's out.
He's at the pool.
That's right.
Okay.